and up comes big Gil Hodges. He digs in, sees one he likes, and hammers a 3-run homer.
And Gil doesn't miss this one. There it goes. Al Smith goes away back to the base of the fence.
The story of Gil Hodges is a beautiful one. He just taught me so much by example.
Hodges comes storming into the bag, trying for a triple. He makes it safe.
Howard sends it grounded to Pee Wee Reese. And these Dodgers at last are world champions.
Stats don't even begin to describe his mastery of first base.
He loved his family, he loved his country, and he loved the Dodgers.
He treated everyone equal. That's exactly who and what he was.
Hodges called for the ball.
The Mets are the world champions. Look at this scene.
Bill made a prototype of a first baseman. Everybody you know would Bill or Gil Hodges. If you had to name 5 first basemen of all time, Gil Hodges would be in that number. So if you in that number, why you're not considered a Hall of Famer?
Gil, of course, he hit 370 home runs, and he hit in 4 figures for RBIs and runs scored. But there was something special about Gil. On the ball club, I heard players refer to him as a saint.
I know this, the man should be in the Hall of Fame. Gil Hodges, from his time as a player and what he meant to those Dodgers and how they succeeded as a team and what he did as a manager. If you can't combine those things and put him where he belongs in the Hall of Fame, then, shame on you.
Pee Wee said, if you had a son, wouldn't it be a great thing if he grew up to be just like Gil Hodges?
There are 2 major mysteries in the history of the Dodgers. The first one, what happened to the Kirk Gibson home run ball in 1988? Where'd that thing go? The other big mystery is, why isn't Gil Hodges in the Hall of Fame?
Jackie Robinson once said that Hodges was the soul of the Dodgers. And from what I know, that's an understatement.
Hodges played a major role for Jackie Robinson. Gil was quietly the peacemaker on the infield. The Hall of Fame should represent how much contribution did you make to the game.
I think he could have played most positions. He was this Hulk at first base that was kind of like a ballerina as far as the strength, this perfect person that could anchor the infield. He was just a natural at first base. I know as a fielder, he won the first 3 Gold Glove awards when they first started, which means he was the best first baseman in baseball.
Gil's hands were so unusually big and thick and strong that Pee Wee said the only reason he wears a glove is because of the rules say that you have to wear a glove. Usually what the pitchers would do, some like a higher seam than others. With a higher seam, you might want to throw more breaking balls. Gil, he could actually raise the seams on a baseball. He would just squeeze that thing until he got it the way the pitcher wanted.
Gil's strength as a hitter was consistency, power, and you just look at the 14 grand slams, you look at the 300-plus home runs, he was the Rock of Gibraltar.
He was so strong in his arms, and how he held the bat and the sound of the ball, power, could hit for average. He was always a threat. He could drive in runs. He was a high on-base percentage guy. He didn't chase pitches.
This guy produced runs. The one thing that I think distinguished Hodges' hitting is the word clutch.
Gil's father, Charlie, was a coal miner here locally. And when Gil did interviews in the 1950s, he said that his father was the most injured coal miner of all time.
His father lost toes, from being in the coal mine. He died of what they called back then black lung disease. That's the job that he could provide for his family. Never wanted his sons involved in. He pushed them towards the sports area.
And I think that lesson about Gil's father, showing Gil how you work through any kind of injuries or any kind of disadvantage that you might have.
Cole was king there when Hodges was born in the 1920s. Cole wasn't king as he came of age. They've been through real tough times. And getting out and finding yourself and your future far away from there would have been central.
When the war broke out, he enlisted and went into the Marine Corps. He felt that it was something that you do. It was an honor to live in this country, and now it was time to repay that honor by serving it. The Battle of Okinawa was one of the turning points in the campaign, and one that he participated in and won medals for.
The Dodgers had a third baseman a few years younger than Gil, who was also in the Marines. His name was Don Hoke, and he used to tell me, he would say, Vin, everywhere I went in the South Pacific, Gil had already been there, and the stories they told about this gentle giant.
It wasn't anything he talked about. I think any time back then you were in a situation where you took other people's lives, it was something that was very dear and sacred. There was probably some conflict internally for him.
Tom Seaver, who was in the Marine Reserves, once asked Hodges, what was it like on Okinawa? And Hodges said to him, if you wanted to know how it was, you needed to be there.
He had one steadfast rule that I can remember, that was don't lie. Because if you lie, I'll never know when you're telling the truth. Never missed mass. Road trips were no excuse. There was a set of how to do things. And it was God, family, and country. And those didn't get altered.
When the Catholics would not eat meat on Friday, Gil had just played a long doubleheader, and it was Friday, and we were moving on to another town. And the flight attendant came by, and she had a great big steak dinner giving out to all the players. And she started to put the tray in front of Gil, and he looked at it and he said, no, thank you. And she said, oh, Mr. Hodges, you've had a long, hard day. You should eat. It was Friday, and he said, no. He said, I'm too close to the boss.
On a Sunday morning, without any fanfare, he would go to Mass. It just became evident that he was devoted to his faith, and Gil was a peacemaker on the team. Hodges did not yell, he didn't scream, he didn't cuss, he didn't throw chairs in the clubhouse, but he'd look at you, and he'd singe your shorts. I mean,
I remember saying to Don Newcomb, did you ever hear Gil swear? He said, no, never.
You never hear him curse. You almost can't believe it, a human being that can't curse. I wish I could be like him. You said to me, would you like to be him? I said, yes. What? Hey, this guy did nothing wrong. And he's not in the Hall of Fame.
He emitted a chemistry somehow that people caught it.
He just exuded leadership. He was a no-nonsense guy, and he was a guy, as Jackie Robinson pointed out, you could always rely on him to have your back.
The game was played differently back then. Suddenly Jackie comes along, and when there was a chance for contact, Jackie would get it, but if you've got a strong person like Gil Hodges, Gil was always there to back him up.
There was always edge, right on the edge of somebody doing something physical to Jackie, somebody sliding hard in him. And Gil, big as he was, he'd take a hold of a guy's shirt and pull him off the pile. In the end, Jackie never was in a fight. Now, that was his own self-restraint that caused that too. But Hodges prevented an outbreak around second base. Historically, he had as much to do with Jackie's success on the infield as anybody.
Jackie Robinson truly believed that Hodges was the soul of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie Robinson did not throw compliments around idly. He didn't say a lot of good things about a lot of people in his life. Gil Hodges was the exception.
For Brooklyn, the team meant so much, far more than the usual relationship between a team and a city. In Brooklyn, it was somewhat like us against the world.